Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2, where I'm always excited to introduce the Protoss player in the blue. Not the one we deserve, but the one we need right now. It's herO. Up against the fastest player in the game, averaging up to around 600 actions per minute, spawning as his native Zerg, the Italian Stallion. It's Reynor, a best of 3 ZVP between two of the most headstrong players out there. Neither player is willing to back down, as we saw just recently. Whether it's Reynor repeatedly running his Zerglings, his Banelings, or whatever else into a wall, or herO's inability to build one consistently. Either way, I predict drama, and I predict very little time to like and subscribe before the action starts. And Jimmy, I know it wasn't good, all right? Just 1,247 likes on this video, on this cast, on this series. And I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. The last time these two met, not too long ago, just a few weeks, I think, before this, was the most dramatic Protoss versus Zerg comeback I've ever seen. Where herO, with an incredibly well upgraded and strong unit composition, and Reynor with a whole lot of units and a willingness to lose them. I mean, it was a real team effort on that one, as Reynor repeatedly tried to batter down the doors instead of maybe securing his position, which arguably was a mistake, but led to herO turning around a game where he was down almost 100 supply into, like, 20 minutes later, a dramatic conclusion. So, Reynor, anything that doesn't have an energy bar, queens notwithstanding, of course, as queens are in their own very special category, in a good way, usually. Oracles, kind of required in the early Protoss versus Zerg. Well, honestly, at every stage of the game, the Oracles are good. In the early game, though, without their scouting and just kind of keeping the drone count under control, just the Oracles existing, they don't have the same effect. Void Rays and Phoenixes do not have the same effect. Because, one, Void Rays and Phoenixes are pretty expensive and much more specialized. Whereas the Oracle has Stasis, Revelation, and, of course, it can burn through drones, or even potentially queens. So, herO poking in. Overlord Speed out of Reynor, which is always a suspicious upgrade this early. He does not have a lair on the way. That could easily transition into the get off my free. Down goes an Oracle. How many? Yeah, the queens spread out on both sides. Intentionally tried to pincer those Oracles. Takes one out. Definitely worth it. Coming in towards the main herO. 3 drones. Gonna go past the Spore here, and the Oracle taking a lot of them. herO ends up losing 1.99 Oracles for about 6 drone kills, which, pretty good. That Oracle not going to be repaired, though. The Protoss lost that technology a long time ago. And, well, that should be the end of the early, not even really aggression, but just ability to keep Reynor particularly honest. So now Reynor, it's up to him. Is he going to go for some early lair tech timing? He's got a 4th base on the way. He's got that hatchery at the 6 o'clock location. He knows that herO is taking a 3rd. He's taking on this high ground. Going to be very hard to attack with anything but overwhelming force. I like herO using that kind of Reynor strategy. Playing Protoss, of course. Of not quite walling off the base, but instead just creating funnels, kind of tower defense style, in order to, well, as I say it, he's like, no, I'm actually going to wall off with a bunch of cannons. Which is also an option. herO probably shouldn't take any chances when it comes to walls, so fair enough on that one. All right, Spire is on the way, but a huge amount of Stalkers are being warped in. He has 8 gates in total, plus 1 is about to complete. Just a straight-up blink timing here out of herO. Oracle taken out right off the bat of the Warp Prism in a vulnerable position. Plenty of roaches and lings. Going to surround and kill many of the Stalkers, and the lings are on the chase. They don't have the upgrades, but down to 1 Oracle is not enough to deter the ground army out of Reynor. That Oracle has limited energy and damage. And if the Corrosive Bile lands, limited life as well. But the Spire is on the way from Reynor. He only has 68 drones. I say only because he easily could have gone up to 75 plus during this time. And right now, hero is not entirely committed to the gateway pressure. But the fact that Reynor was preemptively going for the Mutas, instead of focusing on following this up with some big Roach Ling all-in, or at least attack, I think will put him in a great spot to get some damage done. He's already banking up money, gonna have enough for 6, maybe 7 mutas. 5 mutas are all it takes to kill probes in a single volley. Hero, he does have the Stargate, but you really need to start producing. I don't know, what are you doing out there, probes? Alright, mandated work break. Just like his units on hold position at the wall. Speaking of... Now, unlikely Zerglings will get by unscouted, but something to consider. Details add up. Warp Prism in towards the main, but 8 mutas about to pop out. I guess it's better to scout him on this side of the map. We'll see if Reynor chooses to take out the Warp Prism and reveal the mutas. Or does he try to sneak him by? I think it's better to sneak him at this point. If you think your opponent does not have any knowledge of the mutas, you try to maintain that as long as possible. And Reynor agrees. He's got the mutas swinging around the left side. Overseer coming in. There is +1 air weapons on the way. Oh my god, is he going for the contaminate on the storm? He gets it! The Stalkers blink in to try to stop the Overseer, but the Overseer dives and contaminates, will delay Storm. And now the mutas have an opportunity to get some damage done. Blink Stalkers come in, pick off 1. And I think he suspected it, or he spotted the Spire. Either way, 5 probes are down. Hero is 73. A cannon in the main is going to help out, but it's just a deterrent. At this stage of the game, especially. Oh my god, those probes finally ended. At this stage of the game, static defense is there to buy time for your units. A stasis. Reynor triggers it early. There's still an Oracle on the back line. Banelings rolling in. Bit of an awkward fight angle for both sides. The rocks are... Oh, beautiful storm! And because Reynor had to come all the way, caught between a rock and a hard place, the storms will just melt the Banelings before they can get anywhere close to doing the damage they need. And the mutas are still going to work. Hero at 70-something workers. Fleet Beacon is on the way. Reynor at a casual 1,500 APM during all this. A slow day for him, but Hero just locking down. He's played Reynor before. Reynor has a tendency to overextend. The hell is that? One of those weird pillars on this map. Reynor will attack, and he will try to end it. So, pretty reliably, Hero can defend. Ooh, the Banelings coming in, even uses that second storm. Might add some Archons in there, but it seems pretty clear that Hero is headed towards the carrier composition. Maybe Tempest, but likely carriers, as Reynor making his Spire great again, and +2 air weapons on the way for Hero. I'm sure Reynor knows the direction this goes, but will he attempt to dismantle it or overpower it? And right now, with no Vipers and no Infestors, it's definitely the second one. Oh my god, the storms are absolutely devastating. So far, Hero has lost 2,800 minerals, right now, 65, 500 to 2,500 gas, or 2,000. Which is quite a disparity. It's not, the numbers aren't high enough to really make a huge difference so far, but if this keeps up, it's gonna get harder and harder for Reynor to really ignore the existence of more cost-effective unit compositions. Corrosive Bound knocks down an Observer. Very convenient there. Oracle still, the survivor, putting the work in. Yeah, it's still just that one Oracle from earlier. Reynor comes in with another round of Banelings. He's had that gold base for quite a while. There's no Templar at the back. Some Zealots will be warped in. The Stasis! Wow. The Banelings cut through all but the last layer of defense. But He does hold on. And the probes will stay intact. And at this point, hero is maxed out, as is Reynor. Ultralisk Cavern on the way. Broodlords in production. Adrenal Gland Zerglings ripping through whatever they can get a hold of after the storms. More Banelings rolling in. More storms on top of the Immortals. They can take it. At least most of them can. The Banelings, on the other hand, actually protected by the stasis at the last moment. The Ultralisk Cavern kind of surprisingly late. Broodlords on the way. Kind of trickling him into the composition, as Reynor doesn't have that much money. He's not banking. He doesn't have thousands to burn here. The Banelings tried to escape. The carriers have arrived. And usually this necessitates a slowdown for the Zerg. Like, Reynor, does he keep attacking into an entrenched Protoss? He begrudgingly and with great spite will build a singular Viper, acknowledging that something likely needs to be done that isn't just Zerglings and maybe a few Broodlords against the carriers. Air Weapons 2 is done for hero as he works on getting those carriers the upgrades they need. The Interceptor's actually pretty weak against things like Corruptors or especially late game Zerg, as they have plenty of armor. So those air weapons upgrades, definitely an important part of making the carrier deathball. The Stalkers don't want to get caught. Warp Prism into the main. Queen gets an inject as her last brave act. Warp Prism driven away by a couple Corruptors. The entire Zerg army is coming back. Actually, a bit of a misplay out of Reynor there. He actually drags his entire army back, and that will allow the Stalkers to clear up the creep. Not exactly a bold move out of hero to move out with like 8 Stalkers and an Observer. But there is no reason for bold moves at this stage if the small ones are getting plenty of return on investment. These Zealots, the Stalkers, he's whittling down Reynor's position. And Reynor doesn't have, like, it feels like Zerg should have an advantage if they have this much of the map. But hero has barely lost anything important. He hasn't lost too many meaningful units. He's lost a couple Immortals, some Stalkers, those Oracles earlier. But he hasn't lost any of the carriers, nor Archons, nor Templar. Well, that was true when I said it. Not true anymore. The Zerglings will surround 3 Arch. Now what's going on here? Wait a second. He loses 3 Archons with that army. Yes, the ground army here from Reynor is pretty weak. But those 3 Archons definitely added to the tally. And now the Corruptors will try to pick off as many carriers as possible. 10 High Templar were just warped in. 5 more Archons immediately being put on the field. Well, Ultras and Broodlords as Reynor just kind of scatters in all the Hive tech. He's got +1 flyer attack on the way. Hero is sending us... You see... Okay, so... Is this a power move? Because there's no reason. I stand by this. There's no reason you ever need to do this. Just kill your own probes. Okay? You can kill them with a cannon. It's really not that hard. It takes 1 second to kill that many probes. But sending them across is sending a message. Alright? Those probes are saying... All that attempt, all those Banelings, all those Zerglings, everything you attempted, I literally couldn't care less. In fact, here, take my probes. The same especially with SCVs at a planetary fortress. Zergs never do this because they can do like extractor tricks and stuff, but here comes the Sporist. Going to try to match it. The amount of spores is so damn high, but the Archons are just powering through Blinding Cloud. The Archons having a real tough time getting involved in this fight. Yanks in 1 carrier, storms on the Corruptors. Good split from Reynor. And Hero's army looking less powerful. I don't think Hero was able to fill in the supply he freed up with those probes before this fight. So Reynor actually ends up dismantling some very important pieces. And I think that was the first fight that actually went relatively well for Reynor. Hero killed a few more minerals, but Reynor killed 3 times as much gas in that trade. Of course, that could change here. The Broodlords trying to kite back. The Broodlings trying to nibble their way through. If only they got Adrenal Glands as well, but... Oh, Flux Veins Void Ray is on the way. What? He's gonna go mass Void Ray. which... Storm's looking good so far. The ground army, the broodlings getting out in the way. Blinks over the top, but the ground army... Oh, Storm's on everything. Not really discriminating. Only a single Ultralisk underneath. And hero survives his own storms and powers through. And Reynor kind of, somewhat struggling. And hero is now taking a base that still has an extractor of Reynor's at it in the bottom left corner. Still a warp prism to the north. But this is that late game Protoss that I feel like Reynor understands better from the Protoss side of things than from the Zerg. And now hero. He jumps onto the Broodlords, which are left alone. The Queen's underneath, not able to pull it together. And the Storms are still ripping through. Hero has money in the bank. He's building a mothership, which is a great finishing move. Not so much gonna save you. Cannons are killing the extractor, so that way he can build an assimilator on it and get whatever gas is left in that geyser. Neither player. Reynor's down to like one base of mining. Hero has taken the income lead, though not by a ton here. Maybe one base of mining. Reynor is maxed out, but he's not going to have that opportunity again if it keeps trending in this direction. Another fungal. The Void Ray is not so great when faced. Oh, the Parasitic Bomb dragged by the Void Rays, doing terrible, terrible damage to this army. Strip through the shields, the Void Rays themselves. With the Flux Veins, they stack up so nicely. And become more of a liability than a boon. Yeah, Reynor, he doesn't love using the spellcasters, but that doesn't mean he can't here. The Broodlords weathering the storm, driving things back around our beautiful storms again. Oh my, the autumn colors on the Broodlords and the Corruptors. Reynor wins a pretty decisive fight over to the right flank. The Ultra's easily able to deal with the mediocre upgraded Stalkers. +3 weapons, +2 shields. But the Void Rays can move in. Void Rays, when charged up, might be able to melt through some of the Ultras. How many Queens are on the field? 0, which is not very many. And that's going to make it very hard to heal up any of these. The Mutas lit. The Mutas were here this whole time. I gotta give some real credit to Reynor not even touching the Select All Army hotkey. And again, I guess he has that 660 average. Okay, let's go to the Reynor camp for a moment. That's never a good thing to hear here. Trying to set things up. Oh, Fungal is dodged out. Continually shifting through his control groups here. It's the kind of stage of the game where you can go in a bunch of different directions and none of which necessarily seems to be the right one. Back to everyone. Mass cannons for hero. The Void Rays, I think he tried it and he didn't like it, and I don't really blame him, as the Void Rays just ended up being a liability. Oh, the Fungal! He got greedy! He didn't blink out! And the Stalkers doesn't even get that last Ultra. The Stalkers are chewed up. The Void Rays light up here and are doing significant damage to those Corruptors. The active cloaking. Time Warp, though. This is a crazy fight. Get over here! And finishes off that last Void Ray. Alright, well, I guess that's still true after another Void Ray comes in and dies. But Reynor is maxed out. Hero, a vanguard of cannons. Oh my god! The entire base of cannons. A couple Archons are warped in. The shield battery trying to keep the cannon wall intact. And the Ultras are actually forced to back off because of the sheer weight. Those are fully upgraded +3 shields cannons. They only benefit from shield upgrades, but indeed quite a benefit here. Meanwhile, hero on the left flank. Mothership and Templar underneath. But get over here! Drags in the flying city. But the Templar have near full energy, popping some of the infestors. Feedback landing. Looking for more good feedback there. Trying to chain Fungal. But Reynor not really finding much purchase. And the Immortals just blast through. Another Fungal melts a couple Templar. Broodlord's gonna chase it down. Catches the Tempest. Have carriers been eliminated from the game, or is he just not have them in the fight? 4 carriers have arrived. The Broodlords are cutting back. Another Fungal, blinking forward. Oracle gets a tag, chasing down the Broods. Tries to wait out of the Storm. Storm kills his own Observer. Not that it's needed at this stage. Broodlords, Ultras trying to chew through. It's not going to be enough going up to that high ground. But the Broodlord count has dwindled. And the Queens are non-existent to heal them. Feudalism has ended for the Zerg, and that's not a good sign. Wow. hero holding on, but still somehow making it such a chaotic game. They've traded hands. Hero has now mined more minerals and gas. And he's been, well, he's been significantly more efficient mineral-wise. But he's actually lost 2,000 more gas. As Reynor has been throwing Zerglings and Queens at him all game. Well, the Infestors, Brood Lords, starting to melt a bit. Corruptors taking a lot of splash damage from the Storm. There's only 4 Broods left, and the Ultras underneath. Knocks down a carrier. But the Corruptors are badly bruised here. The Templar are stuck on the ramp, trying to kite back. Ultras wading into the Storm, hitting both sides. The Fungals, Corruptors still fighting. There's enough of them to be a danger, and the Ultras underneath are just waiting for the Storms. Gets a Fungal. The Ultras will survive. The Storm ripping them apart. Merges into Archons. The Corruptors are fighting the Tempest. The Tempests are just kiting the Brood Lords. Might be able to just finish it off. I think he wins this fight against the Corruptors. Tempest Fire, incredibly slow, but not that slow. Oh my god, the Corruptor may get the Tempest. Meanwhile, an Oracle. Is that the Oracle? How many has he lost this game? 2. This Oracle, after his brothers or sisters or nondescript alien robots died, he's survived he's outlived them for nearly 20 minutes. Which is a remarkable attention to that detail. In fact, Hero has committed an entire control group. I guess that's not that impressive, and he just moved it off it. But that Oracle surviving, I think that Oracle... Wow, look at the supply! I'm too busy telling the story of the Loracle over here and not seeing the fact that Reynor is down to 110 supply. There's enough Zealots coming in. That Reynor's army is just gone. He just couldn't rebuild. He didn't have the income. But the Zerglings are trying to get... Don't you dare recall. All right, he blinks out. But the Zerglings are going to be able to overrun these Stalkers. The Zealots on the left side. Reynor's income will dwindle to near nothing here. Archon's on the way. There's 1 Broodlord left, but the carriers have arrived. The Oracle dies, but the Corruptors will die for it. Vengeance is sweet, but the Oracle won't live to see it. The Zerglings will fight the Zealots, but there's no anti-air left. Brandon, no! The Queens were being chased down. And somehow Hero's supply has dwindled as well, but Reynor only has Zerglings. There's 1 Ultra, a couple Infestors, the mass cannons, and the Zerglings, and Hero manages to get the warp into wall. Reynor does not have the resources to rebuild a hatchery. I think it's checkmate. And Reynor might know it. He's just desperate for Hero to make some sort of mistake. But with 3 carriers on the field, I don't know what mistakes are left to be made. There's no anti-air left. Does he even have Neural Parasite? He does. Well, there you go. Without that Oracle to provide revelation and constant detection, there's a dream, I think, of Neural Parasiting, well, really anything, and turning it around. This map has mined out remarkable... Well, not really mined out, as we still have these bases in the corner, but the fact that Hero is mining... Reynor never really had a foothold on the late game. Tried to just knock Hero out of his unit composition. Hero tried the Void Race, he tried the Tempest, but he settled once again on the Carriers and the Archons. And despite one of the most action-packed... Oh my god, they've lost so many resources in just 25 minutes. Neural Parasite! He turns the Archons against him, which is, you know, something. Is there an Observer? Is there still energy? There's 1 Fungal. The Archon's helping out, but they're turned back. The Ultra is dead. The Queens will melt. Reynor has nothing left. And Hero just lays down the Storms and finishes him off. Hero holds it together in a remarkably coherent late game, and Reynor is unable to compete. What a game it was, though. Oh my. I do want to... 501 Zerglings. Those Mutas, those brave Mutas. 16 Queens, 1 Mothership attempted, 17 Archons. a wide array of units built and lost. But what a game indeed. I don't know how you follow that up. That's gotta be... Honestly, if I'm Reynor, I don't think I'm too upset with that. Like, it was not one of those games where the Zerg has 3 times the bank and is just throwing units away. Reynor never really had that level of economy. hero did a good job of keeping control of it. So, and it is tough once they get that carrier composition, if you're not already set up for it, to actually compete with it directly. So, hero with a strong game 1, a strong set, but I think Reynor can bounce back. Yeah. Well, so there is, of course, the meta discussion about how Reynor would rather play Protoss versus Zerg than Zerg versus Zerg. I think Reynor has a very different style of Protoss than hero, though there's some similarities, as late game Protoss is always going to look a certain way. But hero much more focused on keeping aggression up with a singular army, really focused on driving the point home, as opposed to constantly multi-pronged aggression. Sure, threw in the charge lot aggression and all of that, but hero was really focused on making the right army to get the job done, with more High Templar than I've seen in quite a while. The storms are really paying off. Exhausting game. I wanted to see more Void Rays. Void Rays are fun, but I think we saw there why as well. Void Rays are not used in large numbers, or sometimes at all, as they are just so vulnerable to parasitic bomb, fungal. They're not particularly cheap. They don't trade that well, even when there aren't those spellcasters. They're good to fill in, but much like Stalkers, they are an expensive choice for a role that is filled better, usually, by other units. Overlord on the Pervert pillar there, which it barely looks like a pillar, but from the Stalker's perspective, I guess. Over what looks to be some missiles or something there. And the Oracle on the way. That one Oracle surviving. What? That was indeed something. Hero keeping that Oracle alive after just losing the first 2. You know, we've all been there. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. You're like, I'm doing a 3 Oracle opener. I'm going to keep the pressure on. I'm going to micro the Oracles, and then you just lose 2 Oracles. You're like, well, I guess I should just keep the Oracle with my army to be safe. No longer have to worry about this silliness. So maybe a weight off his shoulders. The Overlord taking the high ground vision provided by the Oracle. More in production. It's like Reynor was forced, or at least encouraged, to take his 3rd base by that initial probe. Explorers on the way. We'll see if it's the Twilight Council follow-up. Haven't seen a full-on Stargate build in quite a while. Even that last game, while there was plenty of Stargate units, it was clearly more ground-focused. In fact, I think that's almost required, as having those Immortals, those Templar underneath, so important. Look, those Queens. Well, they're getting the damage done. Hero is like, I am going to kill that drone so hard, and all it's going to cost me is 2/3 of my permanent HP. What a bargain. That's one of my pet peeves with Protoss. Like, is it worth 2 drones to have those? Well, apparently. Plus 1 on the way. Reynor is going to have an advantage. Even if it's chrono boosted, I think Reynor will still have +1 melee on time. That Stalker getting chewed up here. The Zergling's nibbling at its legs. And he gets 1 in! And he will get a full scalp. It's a bit costly, but very important to see the Twilight, to see the +1 on the Forge. And that pretty much gives Reynor all the information he needs to go into the next stage of the game. He knows that hero is not going mass Stargate. It's unlikely he's going to have some crazy robo timing. There is still an option for charge lots, but it's very likely to be blink stalkers. Hero just hard walls off the top of the ramp. Just mass Zerglings here out of Reynor. Maybe try to convince him on the Adepts, but there are still the 3 Oracles, which between Stasis and the Oracle damage themselves are still a real danger. While those Oracles are on the field, you can't really chase down the ground army. Not without so much it's worth losing dozens of Zerglings. And the Adepts, having 5 Adepts is kind of an odd thing here as well. Roach Warren, Revelation, spots the lair, spots the Roach Warren. The Zerglings find the Adepts, though. Gonna get a couple of them. Yep. The rest are able to shade away, but badly bruised in the process. Templar Archives begins. Twilight Council now upgrading charge. And +2 ground weapons is on the way. Reynor just finished his lair. Oh my. The Oracles will get a lot of revenge. Go tell your friends what happened here, Zergling. I don't have any friends. Well, that's sad. Moving on. Melee attack. +2. On the way. And this time around, it looks like Reynor wants to go for mass Zerglings. And maybe a rush into something like Ultras to deal with this Gateway army. Which is just dramatic, to say the least. This is a cinematic level of counter. Skipping, essentially. I guess there's a small I don't think it's going to be Swarm Hosts. I don't think Reynor goes Swarm Hosts. I think this is high. Swarm Hosts are too close to actually playing like a drawn-out late game. Infestation Pit unlocking the Hive is the key point. Stasis all over the place. Or Prism. You will see the Infestation Pit. Correct? Yes. So, and there we go. The Hive begins. The Storm, though. Again, it feels like Hero's going to be able to get to 4 bases without Reynor able to challenge him. It feels like Reynor has really wanted to do so. He's never found the opportunity. There's one Stasis. Adepts will be ripped to shreds, I say. But now, with the power of 3 Oracles instead of the 3-cles, instead of just 1, he has so many options. That Oracle just racking up the kills. Will there be a Storm here? Not gonna bother with it. Chases down a few more. Hive isn't done yet. The Oracle's still going. Chase the... hello? The Zergling's overrunning the Zealots. Individual Zealots not... Well, this Watchtower. Troublesome spot for the Zerglings. We'll eventually get the... Oh my god. 6 kills. Just racking him up. But this is a dangerous army out of Hero. But Reynor is maxed out. The first Storms only grazing the edge of the Zerglings and Banelings. A Viper on the way. No other Hive tech so far. Triggers the Stasis. Doesn't even catch anything. Zerglings trying to run by. But Hero, the Stasis actually catches the Zerglings. Which is a bit awkward because now he has to worry about those Zerglings coming unfrozen. But a big warp in into the main. The Queens come back to defend the home defense force. Karen, heal me. Oh my god, you are too slow. How many times have we talked about this? I don't... Oh, the Immortals caught at the front. Hero getting run down. And well, yes, the Roaches and Ravagers are able to work their way through. The Zerglings underneath helping out a lot. And it looks like the main base is being cleaned up, but Reynor is losing so many units. At what cost of this defense? He's going to lose the 4th base. Another round of units was just warped in from Hero's own base in the center. He really doesn't need a warp prison at the front when he can just walk out of his base. Another Storm. Going to melt most of the Zerglings. The rest heavily damaged. And so far, oh, get over here! The Viper drags in an Immortal, but overall, hero. Well, Reynor ends up killing a lot. Hero, it's... apparently hero killed one of his own zealots, which is odd. Maybe it was a changeling, but... it feels like hero's going to be able to keep up the momentum. Blinding Cloud, actually a great choice here. Even though Archons don't have much range, no range is much shorter. The Immortal taken out, but the Archons... big blue balls of fire. The most dangerous creatures to just Zerg in general if they can close the distance. Extra damage to biological, which includes Zerg, full stop, including buildings. Zerglings overrunning the Zealots. Reynor is now going Ultras and Adrenalings. He actually was quite late on that Zergling upgrade and won't have it for another minute or two, which could make all the difference in these fights. He was able to replenish the supply, but this is Immortal Archon Oracle. This army is not countered by Zerglings, but he's gonna try anyways. Oh my, well, hero recalls losing most of those units. I guess he gets the Oracles out and gets an Immortal and Archon out, but that, a bit late on the recall. He wanted to kill the base, but loses some core units there. Still one Viper, one Infestor. A 22 kill Archon was in that fight. The Oracles, 12 kills, 6 kills. It really feels like they should have more throughout all this. I guess just existing and getting stasis and all that has been just as much, if not more value, really. The Revelation is a huge deal. And now carriers. These are GG carriers. Reynor's over here fighting like it's going to be Immortal Archon. But there are 2 carriers with 2 more on the way. The anti-air is 7 queens. I guess that technically... no, well, okay, 6. 5 queens. That's bad. The Spire just started. Oh, this is a bit disastrous. Reynor is clearly trying to buy time here until he gets something resembling anti-air. But the carriers are almost checkmate. He has to fight while he still can. The Ultras underneath. The Ravagers as well getting involved. More storms onto the Queens. The Vipers here, but the Archons are boxing everything out. The Archons just ripping through. The power is incredible and overwhelming. And GGG. Reynor taps it out, and hero just rips his way through in a decisive victory over Reynor. Reynor just seeming pretty lost with that late game, and that means hero will win the best of 3 and bring us to our anti-spoiler bonus game, which I think will be significantly more early game focused. But here, because you don't know if Reynor's going to turn it around, hero versus Showtime, by the way. Just one game, one specific hand-picked Protoss versus Protoss disaster. But a decisive victory for hero over Reynor. Despite, well, it does kind of feel like Reynor knows how to play Protoss versus Zerg in the late game. But he hasn't quite figured out the reverse, which, you know, maybe is why he prefers that Protoss against Zerg. He's figured out how to win as the Protoss, but not everyone is Cyril. In fact, almost literally no one is. Cyril, with his kind of surgical spellcaster late game, may seem relatively simple to the untrained commenter, but is something almost no Zerg player either wants or is capable of pulling off. Usually both. Oh my god. Ah yes. Let's meet around the watchtower while we throw shade at each other. As you can tell, Protoss versus Protoss is, oh my, all around the watchtower. I'm not sure this is what Jimi Hendrix had in mind. But this is a highlight match As Protoss versus Protoss is just a series of highlights strapped back together with a bunch of flex tape on it. But already some very intense macro builds. And by that I mean building all your tech on one base. A robotics facility for hero. A Stargate for showtime. And the adepts are dancing yet again. Hero did, Showtime lost one adept, but now he has two adepts here. And you know what, let's just not try to pretend we know what's happening. As the adepts, because you can't build a wall reliably, in the early game of Protoss versus Protoss means temporary walls and shield batteries and all that are necessary, because two adepts in your main can and do just win the game. In this case, the Oracle trying to do the same. But Hero says that's pretty lame. And Showtime says, well, play a real game. And Hero says, no. Here comes the... It's a one-base Immortal Prism build. Which, I'll be honest, one, I'm not confident there is a meta in Protoss versus Protoss besides don't let the Adepts in your base. And two, if there is, I don't know if this is it. In fact, I'm reasonably sure it's not. But it is one of those that can maybe hit a timing. But Showtime hasn't expanded, though. If Showtime had taken a Nexus, it's very likely he would die. Oracle picked off by Stalkers. But he himself has now added a Robo. Yeah, he was thinking about a Nexus on the low ground. Cuts his losses with a single pylon. Gonna use the Warp Prism. Wait, can he... The Adepts? Oh my god, stop right there. The Adept Shades are the only thing that can block Adept Shades besides buildings, which creates some very weird scenarios. As Hero, no, comes up the ramp. Now Hero's inside the house, juggles back the sentry. Adept Shades again, just thrown out. Force field. He gets. So now Showtime doesn't have a gateway. There's a stasis out here. We're just gonna throw glaives in, I guess. Hero just casually getting adept glaives. There's a phoenix, making everyone dizzy. Warp Prism on the way for Showtime. Gonna try to maybe juggle his way out of the base in this circus match. The adepts just continually threatening on the doorstep here. Oh my god. Jesus. Look away. Don't leave the Stalkers alone for too long. Or Prism patrolling. Supplies are about even. We've gone to 70 supply at effectively one base. Hero is expanding, but he does have 6 less workers. Showtime has plenty of probes. There's only 2 immortals. The force field, but the Warp Prism, of course, he can just juggle. And in fact, he wants to go... Well, he took a lot of hits on that first immortal. So now... It's a lot of damage. He's picking up a... Oh my god. Yeah, of course. Showtime is gonna expand to the bottom right corner. Well, not really. Well, just the right corner. Over the mineral wall, where it's incredibly unlikely Hero will scout. He may accidentally send his Warp Prism that way. It's a possibility. There's an observer in the main. Somehow Showtime managed to sneak this out. Hero is begrudgingly expanding. The Oracle... another Oracle? No, there were 2 Oracles to start. What a revelation. There's a stasis in the main base as well. Only 8 We are mining... Oh my god. Just look away. Alright. Protoss versus Protoss is not meant to be inspected at such a close range. It's more something you experience than something you prepare for. Which, it seems both these players agree with, based on what's happening. So Hero has more supply. He has a bunch of Adepts. Adepts are pretty good against Immortals, just because Immortals don't do much damage to them, and with Adept Glaives. But now there's the Immortals on the other side of the map. Will he recall? Showtime's trying to come down his ramp. I wonder if Hero's getting... Did he find it? No, he scouted for the gold, but he didn't... Okay, now do you recall? That's the question. I'm sure, yeah, he's looking. He re-shields. He pats that pylon on the back. The Immortals are blasting through it. They do get it, and that depowers a lot of the production. And in fact, supply blocks Hero. Just Stalkers are not going to be enough. He brings an Immortal back. The Observer is chasing. Meanwhile, just an absolute... What? He just what? What? Hello? Hero. But the stasis is about to time out. You know, the Oracle dies, which seems bad. Somehow Hero still hasn't, he has to know, there's something going on. There's no way Showtime is on one base at this stage. Now Showtime's coming out. Showtime still has a worker lead at 30 to 31 to 30. They've built like a dozen or so, maybe 24 workers since the game started. Both lost a couple, but in fact, actually only one probe has died. So they've barely built any workers because that's Protoss versus Protoss in a nutshell. You need there's so many Adepts. Look at these ragtag armies. Is he wants to jump. It is Adept Glaives, which makes them very good against the Adepts. Not a great start for Showtime there. Oh god, here we go. Oh, he's gonna jump him. Alright, yeah, he's committing. He's on top of everything. Showtime. Both sides have Warp Prisms. There's a Phoenix. He picks up an Immortal. Yeah, that Phoenix actually paying off dividends here. There's no way to kill Showtime. Well, the Adepts are taking a lot of damage. Adepts and Immortals, but the Phoenix is pretty important. He's juggling the Immortals. Trying to target. Doesn't kill the other Immortal. There's the Prism. Still juggling. Looking for more. Immortal and Prism neither have much HP, but I think Showtime has lost the game. Right? Well, Hero still hasn't found the hidden base, which is the only reason Showtime's still here. And if Hero throws away another group of shaded... Yeah, he knows he's just hiding back there. The Phoenix was the real MVP. Without the Phoenix, I think Showtime... Well, that fight wouldn't have even been remotely close. The Adepts? He's got to figure it out soon. The mineral wall has not been taken down. But, like, let's use a little bit of Bronze League Hero's creativity here, Hero. Yeah, I think so. He's like, but he did have a Warp Prism. But the Phoenixes are an odd yet effective counter to the mass Adept play. So here we are. Oh, but the Stalkers have Blink and a Disruptor is on the field. But the supplies have evened up. A Stalker blinked over. He's going to find the base. Showtime has been mining it for like quite a while. At least almost half the game so far. We're only 12 minutes in. It somehow seems twice that and half that at the same time. Meanwhile, he just mines through the mineral wall. Probably a smart choice. Showtime. Going to scout this. Worker counts have skyrocketed to 35 versus 36. That Disruptor is everything. He blunks forward, but he picks up the Ruptor. It didn't fire, so he didn't interrupt it. Okay, so Blink Stalkers, Immortals, Blink Stalkers, Disruptor, point blank, interrupted. Showtime doesn't have Blink, he just has way more units. Well, I think the Phoenixes have done it. Now the Adepts are going, well, the only counter to a bad dude with Adepts. Oh, the shield battery, a little bit off. Well, I don't know if we're that much closer to a conclusion, actually. Because Hero still has the mobility. Showtime. The army supply is pretty dramatic. And now, of course, hero going to expand to the top left. Yeah, that makes... Sure. Observer spots the army. Hero might just go for an all-out base trade. Which I'm not confident will go into his favor. We'll see what Showtime does when those stalkers show up. Will there be a recall? No, he's going for it. He recalls the stalkers back home. He's gonna try to defend. Picks up one of the Ruptors. Gonna target it. Shield battery. Keeping it alive. In the air. Probes are pulled. Disruptor. Still. No, he gets it with the Immortals. Once it hits the ground. But Showtime. Well, 14 workers. Meanwhile, Immortal Zealots. Probes. Zealots. One Stalker. But the Stalkers are chasing down. Hero lost most of his probes. He's gonna chase this. Gets away. Showtime loses a lot of army supply. And now Hero has the army supply lead. And he has Blink, and he has Adept Glaives. But Hero only has one shot. And one opportunity. Will he capture it? Or will he blink poorly? The probes are pulled to fight, but he's gonna just target directly, and I think the Blink Stalkers should be able to grind their way through. Showtime doesn't even have a Twilight Council. Just targeting down individual Stalkers. Well, the Phoenixes, he's pulling all the probes. Everyone get in here. There's a Disruptor. He manages to interrupt it. The Disruptor has become the Disrupted. And it is a Warp Prism, but without an Immortal for Showtime. Hero, clearly, as you can see, takes that victory with great decisive action. Ah, yes. Another classic boring macro PvP, where both players made dozens of workers, and we almost made it to 100 supply. Well, Hero, with some solid victories in some hectic games. I hope you enjoyed. The best Protoss player, at least that we know, in person. I don't know. That PvP always leaves me needing both a nap and therapy. Maybe not in that order. Either way. But thank you for watching. I hope I made your day a little bit better with some chaotic games. And I hope if you got the means of motivation, you check out Patreon or YouTube membership. Or I heard here liking and subscribing is still free for now. Checking out Recommended has been very helpful. If you're looking for more ways to spend some time, enjoy some good games for the fans, here the second channel as well for other games you might eventually sometime want to watch. You can find it in the description. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Hope I made your day a little bit better. Good luck. Have fun. I'll see you next time. Stay chill.